Each application process has its own tips and tricks that you'll pick up through trial and error.
Well, hopefully we can spare you some of those errors. Remember, the first step to decorating drinkware in an attractive and lasting way isn't at the point of applying or even printing, it's during your design. You definitely need to consider the shape of the container and adjust accordingly.
Now you're talking about the size of our text or logo.
Well, not just that. You might find that you need to apply the distortion tool in LXI or FlexiSign, or the warp tool if you're using Photoshop, to offset the container's natural curvature.
All right, so we're happy with our design. What other tips do you have for actual vinyl application?
Well, when it comes to applying vinyl decals to mugs or tumblers, we recommend using the hinge method to get proper placement of the decal. It just makes it easier to line up because you're dealing with the curved substrate and maybe rolling around. So if you use a hinge method, it's nice and secure and you get it lined the way you want to. Now we have plenty of online videos that demonstrate that process. Also, if you're applying a vinyl with acrylic as opposed to solvent-based adhesive, you may have to wait a few minutes before you remove the transfer tape. We also recommend using a SEALIT pen to seal edges if you're using glitter or holographic vinyl. These are not as flexible, and so the edges may lift a bit. The SEALIT pen will keep those nailed down. And once you've successfully installed your decal to whatever drinkware you're applying it to, allow it to set or wet out for 24 hours before washing it.
And of course that's a hand wash, right?
That's right, no dishwasher. Especially if you're decorating a YETI or other high-end tumbler. Many of these are not suitable for dishwashers and must be hand washed anyway. So this of course also means your vinyl decals will last longer.
All right, we've talked a lot about these YETI tumblers. Here's one of our technicians applying vinyl to a similar container.
Now this may be a challenge if you're new to wrapping vinyl or haven't wrapped with any real curves before. The 20-ounce YETI tumblers are simpler curves, but the 30-ounce version has more of a Coke bottle shape. That's a compound curve. That's a surface that curves in more than one direction. These can be challenging, especially if you're new to wrapping. You might want to start by getting a Justin Pate wrap training DVD, and we'll send you the link to those in our handouts during the webinar, and those are really, really good training tools.
Watch that and then practice, because the curves can be difficult for even experienced wrappers.
Well, you'll notice that this design involves two sections with an open space in the middle. This is a common design trick for these tumblers because the compound curves will actually cause creases and air pockets in your vinyl.
Now, what kind of tools do we need?
You'll probably want to use a C-clamp or some other method to secure the mug. When you're wrapping a Camaro, you don't have to worry about the car rolling around while you're applying the vinyl, but with items this size, you don't have that luxury. So you need to come out with a way to keep it steady so you can manipulate the vinyl or grow a third arm. And you'll definitely need a heat gun. Applying a little heat and not too much can soften the face film and make it easier to conform to the surface curves and the texture of the tumbler.
Well, the finished product looks great. And again, we really only added $1 or $2 in material, but have doubled the cup's retail value.
Now let's see the dye sublimation process. Notice we left unprinted borders at the top and the bottom.
Now, why is that?
Because sublimating hard surfaces requires a lot of pressure and a tight seal of the transfer paper against the surface. If the seal isn't tight, the sublimated or vaporized ink can move, which creates a fuzzy or blurry image. It's hard to maintain that tight seal when you're wrapping around the lip of the drinking vessel. Another thing you can do to prevent blurry transfers is moisten the transfer paper to melt the edges to the mug. And of course, we're using heat transfer tape to hold the paper to the mug as well.
And what heat press are we using?
This is the Geonite full mug attachment for the DC16 digital combo heat press. Now this unit is a little more expensive than a standalone mug press, but it can also be used for t-shirts and other applications, hence the name combo. It's a multitasking marvel.
So the mug press comes as an attachment for more versatility.
Exactly. So we want to press at 400 degrees for 4 minutes with firm pressure. Here's the trick. Since sublimation occurs at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, it's important to be able to confirm that the platen temperature matches the display temperature on the heat press. We have an entire blog article about how to do this. We'll send you the details in the handouts. The short story is you should use a Georgianite IR thermometer kit to verify that your press is actually putting out 400 degrees. With the mug attachment, you really can't do that. So Geonite recommends that you set the press for 420 degrees Fahrenheit just to be sure the inside of the mug press is hot enough. Likewise, start with a time of 4.5 minutes. That way you have a double margin of error. If you get good vivid color at those settings, you can start backing down the time in 15-second increments until you start to see a little bit of fading. That's your time floor. So plan to do 4 or 5 test mugs at the start to dial in your mug press settings. When the time is up, Use a glove to remove the mug and immediately immerse it in cool or lukewarm water. This stops the sublimation process and prevents hazy edges.
And we say lukewarm water just to be safe. You could use cold water, but that runs the risk of possibly cracking the mug, and we don't want that.
No, we don't. Okay, just a few application tips for print and cut decals in etched glass. Wine glasses, of course, have compound curves, kind of like the 30-ounce YETI tumbler, only more extreme. For etching compound curves, cast vinyl will actually adhere to those curves better than standard stencil film. Stencil film is calendared and just isn't as conformable. So if you're having trouble getting your stencil film to adhere to the glass and not getting crisp edges, try some OraCal 751. It's a cast vinyl, but not as expensive as 951 or other cast films.
Okay, what about print and cut?
Just remember that digitally printed decals should be laminated to protect them from abrasion. And again, the SEALIT pen can help seal the edges against detergents. Also, YETI tumblers, along with more trendy drinkware products, are not dishwasher safe, so you have to hand wash only. Best practice is, no matter what application you choose, follow the drinkware manufacturer's care instructions. And if you choose vinyl on ceramic mugs, either cut or printed, please advise your customers that it's not warranted for use in a dishwasher. The ceramic mug might be dishwasher safe, but that doesn't mean the vinyl is too.